Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vishali Khan and we are discussing the VLSI technology. In that we are discussing the chemical vapor deposition and the dielectric thin films, and today our topic of the day is the applications of the CVD. So this is a very important topic because you all must be wondering as of now that why are we studying different topics related to the CVD, why we are analyzing the CVD in great detail. So you must know the various applications. CVD is having very wide applications. You can see the applications of the dielectric thin films that is generated or deposited with the help of the chemical vapor deposition. So first of all, it is used for the shallow trench isolation formation, which is called the STI. Okay, so now after that it is used for the sidewall spacer. Okay, and then it is used for the pre-metallic dielectric. Okay, so PMD it is called. So now we are using the different type of the material for that. Okay, for the shallow trench isolation we are using the undoped silicate glass. For the sidewall spacer we are using the undoped silicate glass, and for the pre-metallic dielectric we are using the phosphosilicate glass or the borophosphosilicate glass. Okay, I'm going to tell you the significance of each one of them. Then we are using it for the intermetallic dielectric, which is IMD, which is used of USG or FSG. Then it is used for the anti-reflection coating, okay, ARC. Okay, so now here after that it is used for the passivation dielectric, okay, or the PD. You can see the various things with the help of which it is made. Now coming to the difference between the dielectric layer or the dielectric thin film of oxide and the nitride. So first of all we are going to see the layer of SiO2, then we are going to compare it with the layer of the silicon nitride. Okay, so Si3 and 4, both of them are having the similar dielectric strength. The dielectric strength is greater than 1 into 10 raised to power 7 volt per centimeter for both of them. The dielectric constant would be lower for the oxide, which is nearly equal to 3.9, but it is higher for the nitride, which is around 7.0. Okay, so the oxide is not a very good barrier for the moisture and the mobile ions, which are the sodium ions. Okay, sodium ions can penetrate inside, and I am going to tell you what is the disadvantage of the penetration of the sodium ion inside the layer. So it is not a good barrier. It can allow the moisture or the mobile ion sodium ions to go inside. But if I talk about silicon nitride, it is a good barrier for moisture as well as the mobile ion. So now oxide is transparent to UV layer. Okay, UV ray. So it is not detectable with the help of UV ray. If I want to find out the thickness of the oxide, I cannot use the UV ray. Conventional nitride is opaque to UV. So we can use the UV to find out its thickness. Now oxide can be doped either with the phosphorus or with the boron. So now first of all we are talking about the shallow trench isolation. Okay, as we know why the shallow trench isolation is used. The shallow trench isolation is used to differentiate between the two components on the IC so that they are not getting shorted out. So if I have different MOSFETs, different transistors, different capacitors, I need some difference or some resistance gap in between all of them so that they are not going to short with each other. They are going to work separately. For that I have to make a shallow trench isolation. So there are various steps, like first of all I am going to grow a pad oxide and the deposition of the nitride would be there. Okay, so this is the pad oxide thin layer. After that we have the deposition of the nitride layer. Then I am going to etch the nitride oxide as well as the silicon where I want to deposit the other material for the STI formation. Okay, so after that when we have etched out the silicon oxide or the nitride, then after that we have to grow the barrier oxide. Okay, so we can use the chemical vapor deposition and we can fill it. The trench are filled with the help of the undoped silicate glass. So we are filling this full area with the undoped silicate glass. Okay, after that we are going to do the chemical metallical polishing, and then after that we are going to do the annealing, and this is how we are forming the USG layer. Okay, so USG undoped silicate glass is now penetrated inside the silicon, and if I have one component over here and one component over here, so both of them are not shorted because of the high resistance USG layer present here, right? And after that I don't want this nitride and the extra USG, so I am going to strip the nitride and the oxide. Okay, we may keep this extra USG or we may strip off the extra USG layer as well. We can use the chemical metallic polishing as well for this purpose. So you can see this is how our shallow trench isolation is looking like. So you can see the picture, it is a very amazing picture. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now coming to the side wall spacer. Okay, so you can see we have the substrate over which I have a polysilicon gate and over which I have oxide. Now this is my side wall. Okay, side wall can be made with the lightly doped drain, LDD. Okay, so here I have the self-aligned silicide, okay, which is going to align itself. I am not using a next mask for its alignment. Okay, it is going to self-align in between the source and the drain. This is called self-aligned. Okay, so now here you can see this is how my side wall spacer would be looking like. Okay, so now coming to the pre-metallic dielectric. So the pre-metallic dielectric is formed with the help of doped oxide. I told you we can dope the oxide with phosphorus as well as with the boron. So we are using the phosphosilicate glass or the borophosphosilicate glass. Now what is the advantage of phosphorus? So phosphorus is used as a gathering agent for sodium, and now it is attracting all of the sodium and it is getting them removed from inside the wafer. So now it is a gathering agent, which is a very important thing. So this is the reason we are using the phosphosilicate glass, okay, or phosphorus in the process of PMD. Okay, and it reduces the flow temperature as well. So this is the next advantage of using the phosphorus. Now coming to the boron. Boron further reduces the flow temperature without excessive phosphorus. Okay, so when we are going to reduce the temperature further and we don't want to add more of phosphorus, I can use directly boron. So now this is how the sodium ions, if they are present, they are going to turn on the MOSFET. We don't want the MOSFET to be there in the turn on mode. So this is, there are the active or the depletion mode of the MOSFET. We don't want it to be there present in the active mode. So now here what happens? So now when I'm supplying the gate voltage here, and when the sodium ions are present, they are going to turn on the MOSFET. They are going to give the particular electrons from the source a way to reach to the drain. So this is how the electrons will flow from source to drain, okay, even if the gate voltage is 0. Okay, so this is actually the turning off of the MOSFET. This we don't want. Okay, so now coming to the pre-metallic dielectric and the further things related with it. So here if I use more of phosphorus, we will be having lower of reflow temperature. I want reflow temperature so that the surface will become smooth. If I am depositing some layer, it should be having a smoother surface. So I am going to heat it. This is called the reflowing process. And if I am using more and more of phosphorus, the reflow temperature would be less. So if I am using more than 7% weight of phosphorus, it is hygroscopic in nature. What it is going to do, so it is going to react with the water. So if I have the phosphorus in the oxide, it is present in the form of P2O5, right? So now it is going to react with the water. So P2O5 plus 3H2O, it is giving H3PO4. And what is the output of having the H3PO4? H3PO4 is actually the phosphoric acid. So phosphoric acid is used for the etching of the aluminium and it can cause the metal corrosion. So it is a disadvantage for us. I cannot use more of the phosphorus. So if I have too much of boron as well, it will cause the crystallization of the boric acid. Okay, so it is going to have some crystals of the boric acid H3BO3. So both of them are disadvantages for us. So we cannot use very high amount of phosphorus, we cannot use very high amount of boron. We have to limit the percentage of phosphorus and the percentage of boron lesser than 10%, right? So now there is a question that arises that silicon nitride is a better sodium barrier layer than the silicon oxide, then why don't people just use nitride for the PMD layer? Okay, so here if I am using nitride for the PMD layer, it will be having a higher dielectric constant, and when the dielectric constant is higher, it will be causing a higher RC time delay. So when the RC time delay is higher, which means the circuit would be slower, that we don't want. So it will be reducing the circuit speed. I don't want that. So a thin layer of nitride is commonly used as a diffusion barrier layer in the PMD applications. It prevents the diffusion of phosphorus and boron from borophosphosilicate glass diffusing into the source and drain. Okay, so I don't want the diffusion from the PMD layer or from the borophosphosilicate glass of the phosphorus from borophosphosilicate glass to the source and drain, and for that I can use thin layer of the silicon nitride. Okay, so you can see the phosphosilicate glass reflow process. Okay, so here you can see we are reflowing the phosphosilicate glass at 1100 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes in the nitrogen ambient environment. Okay, so you can see if I have the different time, for the different time you can see our theta angle is reducing. Okay, here you can see we have the theta and our surface is become more and more symmetrical. Okay, so it is making the surface smoother. Whenever I am going to do the reflow at a higher temperature, it is going to make the surface smoother. So now coming to the some facts about sodium, because sodium is a very important element in this scenario, and now we need to know the properties of the sodium. Its symbol is Na, atomic number 11, atomic weight is 22.98 around. Discoverer was Sir Humphrey Davy and discovered at England in 1807. So the origin of name was coming from the English word soda. Okay, so the origin of the symbol Na came from the Latin word natrium. So you can see the density of the solid, the molar volume, velocity of sound, electrical resistivity, reflectivity, melting point, boiling point, thermal conductivity, coefficient of linear thermal expansion, applications, and main removal agent is HCl. Okay, barrier metals used. So barrier materials is silicon nitride and the phosphosilicate glass. So you can see the reflow process at 850 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes in the nitrogen ambient environment for the 4:4 borophosphosilicate glass. So you can see here we have some non-uniformity, and when we are going to give the higher temperature, it is going to give me the uniform surface. So now coming to the development of the PMD processes. So here if I want to do the planarization, if I have the dimension greater than 2 micrometer, I am going to use the phosphosilicate glass, and the planarization is done with the help of reflow at 1100 degrees Celsius. For the dimension 2 to 0.35 micrometer, I am used to make the PMD of borophosphosilicate glass. I am going to use the reflow process for the planarization at the temperature 850 to 900 degrees Celsius. Okay, so if I have the dimension 0.25 micrometer, again I am going to use the borophosphosilicate glass for the PMD, and then for the planarization I am going to use the reflow as well as the chemical metallic polishing at 750 degrees Celsius. If I have the dimension 0.18 micrometer, I am using phosphosilicate glass, and for planarization I am using the CMP process. So PMD applications roadmap, you can see here with the years how the feature size has changed. In the 1989 the feature size was 0.8, in 1992 it was 0.5, in 1995 it was 0.35, in 1998 it is 0.25, and it is reducing. In 2000 it is 0.18. Okay, if I see the wafer size is increasing. So from 150 to 200 and from 200 to 300. Okay, so now here in the initial time we were using the atmospheric pressure CVD, we were using the silane, and borophosphosilicate glass, and we were using the PETEOS and BPSG for an LP CVD as well. So we were using the plasma enhanced EOS, okay, BPSG as the material, and we were using the low pressure CVD as well. We were using thermal flow for the planarization. Okay, we were using after that the O3 TEOS BPSG, thermal flow or RTP or CMP, then O3 TEOS PSG plus PE PSG, and then chemical metallical polishing. Then we were using the high density plasma phosphosilicate glass plus PE PSG with the chemical metallical polishing, and after that we are using the low dielectric constant material with the chemical metallic polishing. So now coming to the IMD. IMD means the intermetallic dielectric. It is used or it is done with the help of undoped silicate glass or FSG. So here we are using a technology which is called spin-on glass. So after that we are using the gap fill and the planarization process. The temperature is limited by the metal melting. So the temperature is limiting at around 400 degrees Celsius. We cannot process it the higher temperature than this. Okay, we are using the plasma enhanced TEOS, O3 TEOS, and the high density plasma as well. So what is TEOS? TEOS is tetraethylene oxysilane SiO C2H54. This is the structure you can see. It is a liquid silicon source. I have already talked about its feature in the last lecture as well. It is commonly used for the SiO2 deposition and used for the step coverage and the gap filling as well. So now coming to the PETEOS, plasma enhanced TEOS CVD process is PETEOS. Okay, we are using the CVD process using TEOS and it is plasma enhanced. Okay, so here we are using TEOS and O2 as the precursors. It is a most commonly used dielectric CVD process, and it is depositing USG at nearly around 400 degrees Celsius, and it is mainly used for IMD. So you can see the spin-on glass processes. Spin-on glass processes are used for the formation of the layers, the thin layers of the dielectrics. Okay, I have already talked about it. So now coming to the PETEOS process. Okay, so you can see if I have the PETEOS process, you can see the high uniformity in the deposition. You can see the sputtering and etchback. Okay, so after this deposition, we are going to do the sputtering and etchback. For the planarization, again we are going to do the PETEOS. This is the full reaction that is happening in the PETEOS. Then the O3 TEOS. Here we are using the TEOS and the ozone. Now ozone is going to dissociate in O2 and O, where it is having the half-life time of 86 hours at 22 degrees Celsius at lesser than 1 millisecond at 400 degrees Celsius. Okay, so now if I am going to increase the temperature, then what is happening? The lifetime, half-life time is going to reduce. So if I have oxygen molecule is going to combine with the TEOS. Now what I need the temperature to be minimal. But if the temperature is very high, the half-life is going to reduce at a very significant rate. I don't want that. So when oxygen is going to react with TEOS, it is going to form the undoped silicate glass and other volatile byproducts. This undoped silicate glass is used in a lot of applications. So here we are going to get the excellent step coverage and the gap fill. It is applied for IMD as well as PMD processes. So you can see the difference between O3 TEOS and the PETEOS. So now when I am using the PETEOS, the step coverage is around 50%. But when I am using the ozone TEOS, the step coverage is around 90%. Conformality is 87.5%, which means the width of the lower layer deposition and width of the upper layer deposition is 87.5. The ratio is 87.5 and I am not getting a very uniform deposition. Here the conformality is 100%, which means the uniformity is very high in this case. So high density plasma CVD, this is the third case we had. So HDP CVD deposition and the sputtering HBAC is done at the same time. We are using USG for the STI applications, and we are using USG and FSG for IMD applications. Here we are using the PMD for PMD applications. So you can see this is HDP CVD and IMD applications. So now after that we have the oxide CMP. So whenever we have done the high density plasma chemical vapor deposition, after that we have to do the chemical metallic polishing to remove the excess layer of USG or any material that we have deposited. After that we have the next application, that is the passivation. Passivation is the controlling or protecting actually the surface from the outside environment. Okay, in the environment there would be various reactants present and which can go and deposit on the surface, and they can react with the surface, contaminate the surface. I don't want that. For that I am using the passivation. I am using the passivation to protect the IC with the help of the nitride and the oxide layer. If I am using nitride, I told you nitride is a very good barrier layer. Oxide helps nitride stick with the metal. Nitride is not having a very high affinity towards the metal, so I first use the oxide, then I use the layer of nitride. So here I will be using the Sealine processes. Here I will be using ammonia, nitrogen gas and the nitrogen precursors. So N2O as the oxygen precursor is used. So here it is the in situ CVD process. I hope you understood the various applications, and if you have any doubt or if you want to study this topic further, you can refer these books. These are really amazing books that we have. I hope you like this session. If you like it, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel and also share it with your friends. And if you have any doubt related to this lecture, you can put the doubt in the comment and I'm going to help you guys as soon as possible. Thank you so much.